Hello there, my fellow language learners, and welcome back to the channel. My target language is Mandarin Chinese, and I'm going to tell you about my Mandarin Chinese journey in today's video. So if you're after this language too, this video is for you. And I welcome you to like and subscribe, leave me a comment. I hope you enjoy this channel and follow it because I'm providing regular language learning content to keep you inspired and to keep you motivated to make language learning a part of your daily life, a part of the fabric of your life. So my interest in Asia and especially China began maybe in late high school, and that continued on through university when I became exposed to Asian philosophies, religion, culture, and things like that. So that was how I started to take an interest in the culture of China. And then in university, I decided to take a Chinese language class. Mandarin, of course, Mandarin, that's what I'm speaking about in today's, those terms are often conflated, right? But I'm speaking about Mandarin when I say Chinese. I'll just say Mandarin. But anyways, took a Mandarin language course for about a year, had a great experience with it. I had 2 or maybe 3 different teachers who were actually from China, and I feel that the class gave me a good foundation in terms of reading, writing, listening, speaking. It was an integrated Mandarin language course, so I learned how the pronunciation worked. I learned the stroke order, how to write the characters in the right way, things like that. And I learned some cultural notes along the way in terms of greetings and, polite mannerisms and things like that. But then after that class was over, a few years passed, and I was not studying the language. I was not using the language. I never expected that I would actually move abroad one day. I mean, I'm making this video for you right now here in China where I live. I live in Guangdong, China. So a few years passed, and I forgot most of everything I had learned because I wasn't using it. But things took a turn when I ended up coming to China in 2011. I had a friend who studied abroad in China. He really liked it. He thought I would like it too. So I took him at his word and came to China, and I really enjoyed the life here. And I had to relearn the language, basically. I kind of had to start over again. I was what people in the world of language learning and linguistics might call a false beginner. So I had some knowledge in my head. I was maybe not a true beginner, but I was in many ways having to start over. I had to relearn things, but I didn't learn exactly in the same way as I did as you would in a class, because now I was in the country, and I feel like the learning was a lot more real. I basically went around with a notebook. I didn't have a phone in those days. I wouldn't have one for several more years, and I was learning slowly what I really needed to survive in daily life on the streets and how to get things done. And so I carried a little notebook around with me, and I wrote down key phrases that were essential to get things done and important for me. So I moved around. I explored China over the years. I lived in different places. I always kept my mind open and my ears open to local languages too, because China has a lot of those. It seems like almost every city in China has its own local language. And I was interested in those as well. So I was always improving my Mandarin and using it in daily life. I learned a lot just from conversations with people, from paying attention to people, from trying to listen well, asking good questions, taking some notes in a little notebook, making some flashcards when I got home. This was primarily how I learned, was basically picking it up through living in the country. I found that to be the most motivating, the most real. And then I would also pick up little phrases and greetings in the local, the special areas that I was living, the local languages there, which I always found that interesting and fascinating. A lot of people in China, young Chinese people, would tell me, don't worry about, just focus on Mandarin. These people, these local people, they don't speak Mandarin well, so don't listen to them. It's kind of funny. Sometimes there can be a bias in China against local languages. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But anyway, traveled around in China for a lot of years. Mandarin was my main focus. Ended up moving to Guangdong and in 2017. And that, in some ways, it felt like to me to be moving to a different country, because you could so obviously feel that the Cantonese language, food, culture was quite different, was really its own beast, so to speak. And I took an interest in learning the basics of Cantonese. I've kind of fallen off the bandwagon with that a little bit in the recent years, but I still have a bit of an interest there. And I think I want to go over the basics again and maybe push onward into a lower intermediate or like a higher beginner stage with it. I think that would be cool. But I came to Guangdong. I would use my Mandarin with people. I've learned Mandarin to like an intermediate stage. And they would always be curious and ask me if I could speak Cantonese too. And sometimes, it's not very frequent, but it is a regular occurrence that people here will initiate conversations with me in Cantonese. So sometimes when I go to markets or shops around here, Cantonese is the first language that they will address me with. So I think it would be fun and serve me well to get a good handle on the basics of Cantonese, because I do like trying to speak to people in Cantonese and try to get basic things done if I can, like buying things in a shop or buying things at the market or exchanging the basic personal information, like where I come from, what I do. I think that's fun. And then, of course, I can transfer them over to Mandarin and say, I speak Mandarin much better, let's use Mandarin. But that's basically where I am now with my Mandarin Chinese. I guess it would be fair to say I'm conversationally fluent. Most of the daily life stuff I can pretty much handle, listening and speaking to people. I cannot write characters very well from memory. It's just not very essential for my life in China. And I think a lot of Chinese people struggle with that too. Because a lot of people now use pinyin to type out characters on the phone. So it can be tough to remember how to write characters from memory. And also reading is tough for me if it's something more complex than daily life stuff. I can actually read pretty well characters on my phone if it's typical daily life stuff that needs to get done, because I've just been, over the past few years, texting people more and more the characters. Now the built-in app translators are so good that, like, if you don't understand something, you can, with one press, translate it to English and understand what they're talking about. So maybe that's made me more lazy in some respects, but I kind of operate with the blend on my phone. Like, if I can read it quickly and I understand it, sometimes I don't even bother to translate, or I don't think to translate it, because my mind's that fast and it knows those characters so well. But if it's something more complex, I find myself being like, I don't even want to bother to understand this, just hit the translate, know what I need to do. And sometimes the Chinese that I know can fill in some of the gaps there. But all that said, I want to keep improving my Mandarin Chinese. I have children now. I have a daughter who's 4.5. So we love language learning together, Mandarin and English, and I'm learning a lot of colorful and interesting stuff from her, because we like to watch cartoons and read children's books and comic books. So that's helping me to learn as children do in China in a very organic way. I think that's fun. And that's where I am. So let me know how your language learning journey is going, especially as it relates to maybe Mandarin Chinese. I would love to help you learn that language if I could. And we have online gaming groups for Mandarin on the 4th Saturday of every month at 9 a.m. New York City time, which right now is 9 p.m. China time, same day, Saturday. So if you're interested, you can come out and game with us. Details at languagecardgames.com. All right, I'll see you back here in the next one. 再见.